Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Um, Today we're taking a look at a topic that I know a lot of people are just fascinated by, and that is unsolved disappearances.
Yeah.
And we've got a great resource to do that with. We've got a whole season of a podcast called "They Vanished Without a Trace: Unsolved Missing Persons Cases."
Right.
And just the title itself kind of gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's really speaks to something deep in us, doesn't it? I mean, this idea of someone just vanishing, leaving no trace.
Yeah.
Like, where did they go? What happened? It's one of the most unsettling things I think you can think about.
It really is. And you know what gets me about this particular podcast is that it's not just one or two cases. They're tackling 15
Wow,
different cases of people who just vanished, leaving behind just the barest of clues, you know?
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at disappearances on land, at sea, even in the air,
Mhm.
all sorts of different situations, different circumstances.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so intriguing, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got all these different scenarios, all these different possibilities,
Right.
and yet the common thread is this complete and utter lack of an explanation.
Exactly. And it's like each of these stories is a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying to put the pieces together. But some of the most crucial pieces are just missing. And that's what I think we're going to be looking at today. Like, what happened in those critical moments right before they vanish? What clues can we possibly glean?
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's that tantalizing possibility that we might be able to find those missing pieces even after all these years.
Yeah.
And, the human mind it hates a void, doesn't it?
Yeah,
We want answers.
absolutely.
We crave explanations.
Mhm.
And these cases, they poke at that part of our brain
They really do.
that needs to make sense of the world.
Well, let's jump into some of these mysteries, shall we?
Let's do it.
So, they vanished without a trace. Starts off with the case of Maura Murray. Now, this is a name that many people might recognize. She was a 21-year-old nursing student who disappeared back in 2004.
Okay.
And it happened after she crashed her car in New Hampshire.
I see.
Now, what makes her case so intriguing are the conflicting details surrounding the incident.
Oh.
Witnesses saw her after the crash,
Mhm.
and she seemed coherent. She even declined help.
Okay.
But then just minutes later, she was gone.
Like poof.
Yeah, it's almost as if she just stepped into thin air.
Wow.
It's unsettling, right?
Right.
Did she wander off, disoriented, or did someone take advantage of the situation?
Those are the questions that have plagued investigators and armchair detectives for years.
Yeah,
And we'll dig into some of the theories surrounding her disappearance a little later.
absolutely. And then there's the case of Brandon Swanson, who vanished in 2008 after his car went into a ditch.
Okay.
Now, he called his parents,
Mm-hmm.
and during that call, he suddenly yelled, "OS," before the line went dead.
Oh, my God.
Just imagine the terror in his voice
I know.
in those final moments. What did he see?
Right.
An animal, a person, something else entirely.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it just
Yeah.
adds this layer of fear and mystery
Right.
to an already tragic situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
These cases often leave us with so many more questions than answers,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I think, what makes them so fascinating, but also so frustrating.
Okay, well, let's talk about Asha Degree.
Okay?
Now, picture this. A 9-year-old girl leaving home at 4 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
What could possibly compel a child to do that? It's almost unfathomable, right?
I mean, it's every parent's worst nightmare
Yeah.
to think of your child just walking out into the darkness like that.
And to make matters even more mysterious, her backpack was found buried miles away.
Seriously?
Yeah, and there was even a photo in her belongings that nobody recognized.
That's strange.
It's a tantalizing clue, but so far it's led nowhere.
Wow. These details, they make you realize that even in seemingly ordinary places, the most extraordinary and sometimes unsettling events can occur.
Absolutely. All right. This next case, this might make you think we've stepped into a science fiction film.
Oh,
Brian Schaffer disappeared from a bar in 2006,
okay.
and security footage shows him entering but not leaving.
Wait, what?
It's like he vanished into thin air.
So, they checked the footage thoroughly.
Oh, yeah. Investigators meticulously searched every nook and cranny of that bar. I mean, we're talking areas under construction, hidden stairwells, everything. But no Brian.
That's wild. It makes you wonder if there was some secret exit we're unaware of.
Exactly. Or something more sinister happened.
Hmm.
And speaking of sinister,
Oh, boy.
the Jameson family disappearance is, it's truly haunting.
Oh, no.
They went missing in 2009. Their truck found abandoned with their belongings and dog inside.
That was awful.
Years later, their remains were discovered just miles from the truck.
Seriously. So they were so close to the vehicle the whole time.
Yeah, and that's the truly puzzling part.
And
That what kept them tethered to that location for all that time,
Right.
and what ultimately caused their deaths.
Gosh, that's the lack of a clear explanation. Just it opens the door to so many theories, doesn't it?
It really does, from foul play to environmental factors, but the truth remains elusive.
It's like they were, I don't know, caught in a time warp or something. Their story just frozen in those woods.
And then we have disappearances at sea, which I always find particularly eerie.
Yeah, me too.
Take the case of Amy Lynn Bradley, who vanished from a cruise ship in 1998.
Okay.
1 minute, she's on the balcony with her family. The next, she's gone.
Just gone.
Yeah, and cruise ship disappearances, they're so unsettling because of the isolation.
Yeah, you're surrounded by water.
Exactly, limited escape routes.
It makes the idea of someone just disappearing all the more terrifying.
Absolutely, and what's interesting about Amy's case is that there have been reported sightings of her over the years. Yeah, often accompanied by claims that she's with unidentified men.
Suggesting a possible abduction.
Precisely.
It's terrifying to even imagine.
And speaking of terrifying,
Well,
Lars Mittank's disappearance in 2014,
okay.
after a trip to Bulgaria, this is a story of bizarre behavior that escalated into a vanishing act.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So he was at the airport, right? He was supposed to be flying home,
Mm-hmm.
but suddenly he just sprints out of the terminal, climbs a fence, and runs into the fields.
What?
We don't know for sure, but his actions
Yeah.
suggest a possible mental breakdown
Okay.
or a state of extreme paranoia.
Some have speculated that maybe he suffered a head injury that
Right.
affected his behavior.
Mhm.
But again, we don't know.
It's like something just snapped and he
Yeah.
was driven by an unseen force.
That's a chilling thought.
All right, we've covered cases on land and sea. Now let's move to a place shrouded in history and intrigue.
Ooh, where to?
Vatican City.
Wow, okay.
In 1983, Emanuela Orlandi vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that's captivated the world.
That's a big one.
It is.
I mean, the Vatican City setting, it just adds so many layers, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you've got history, religion, whispers of conspiracy all swirling together in one place.
It's like something out of a Dan Brown novel.
Right. It's no wonder this case has become like a breeding ground for theories.
Oh, for sure. Some even implicating political plots, organized crime,
Oh, wow.
high-ranking Vatican officials. I mean, you name it.
It's a story that just keeps on giving in terms of speculation.
And speaking of cases that have captured global attention, we have to talk about Madeleine McCann.
Oh, yes, of course.
She was only 3 years old when she vanished from her family's holiday apartment in Portugal back in 2007.
That case was everywhere.
It really was.
I mean, it gripped the world, didn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, her disappearance, it sparked one of the most extensive missing person investigations in history. With a global search, relentless media coverage, the whole 9 yards.
And it underscores how these cases, especially those involving children, they touch a collective nerve, They make us question our assumptions about safety and security,
Yeah.
even in seemingly idyllic settings,
Yeah.
like, a family vacation.
Absolutely. It makes you realize how quickly life can change,
Yeah.
how fragile our sense of order can be,
Yeah, it's a reminder that even the most beautiful places, the most unexpected and tragic things can happen.
Okay, well, then there's Dorothy Jane Scott, a single mother from California, who disappeared in 1980 after a series of unsettling stalker calls.
Oh gosh, stalker calls, those are always so creepy.
It's like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
The caller, they described her clothing.
Oh, wow.
They claimed to be watching her.
That's scary.
And they even continued contacting her family
Oh.
after she vanished.
Oh my gosh, that's chilling.
Yeah, and what's particularly chilling about it is that her car was actually seen speeding away from a hospital parking lot without her.
Really?
Yeah, it's as if she was being controlled by some unseen force,
That sends shivers down my spine just thinking about it.
And even years later, when Dorothy's remains were discovered, it still didn't bring closure.
Oh.
Her killer remains unidentified, leaving her family with this lack of justice, this unresolved grief on top of an already tragic situation.
It's a reminder that sometimes, even when remains are found, the mystery persists and the longing for answers, it never really goes away.
Yeah, it's a haunting thought for sure. And Another case that raises questions about vulnerability and the unpredictability of life is that of Michaela Joy Garrick.
What happened to her?
She was abducted in broad daylight from a parking lot in 1988.
Oh, wow, in broad daylight.
Yeah, and she was only 9 years old at the time.
That's awful, and it just shows that, danger can really work anywhere.
It really does, and it kind of shatters our sense of security, doesn't it?
It does.
Thinking that even in broad daylight,
Yeah.
in a public place, something like that can happen.
And despite, a partial description of the man and his vehicle, they never found her.
No, they haven't. But years later, advancements in DNA technology offer a sliver of hope.
Oh, all right.
A chance that evidence from the scene might lead to the identification of her abductor.
Right.
But for now, the wait for answers continues.
I can't even imagine what her family must be going through, that not knowing.
It's a unique form of grief, isn't it? What they call ambiguous loss.
It is. It's a loss without closure.
Yeah.
A wound that never fully heals.
It really makes you think about the strength and resilience of the human spirit.
It does.
To be able to carry on with such a heavy weight of unanswered questions.
I know. It's incredible.
Okay, Stephen Kucher's disappearance in 2009.
Okay.
This kind of adds another layer to our exploration of ambiguous loss.
How so?
So, surveillance footage shows him parking his car in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And walking away, never to be seen again.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, and what's particularly intriguing about his case is his behavior leading up to his disappearance.
Oh.
He embarked on these seemingly aimless road trips as if driven by some internal restlessness or confusion,
He was searching for something?
Or maybe running from something, we don't know.
Yeah. And his car was found, but no clues.
No, it was found with his belongings inside.
Wow.
But no clues pointing to his whereabouts.
That's so strange. It's like he just vanished into thin air.
And despite extensive searches and various theories, including foul play or the possibility of a deliberate disappearance to start a new life, Stephen's fate remains unknown.
It's another one of those cases that just leaves you with more questions than answers.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we have 2 more cases from They Vanished Without a Trace to discuss.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, we have Zeb Quinn, who went missing in 2000 under some pretty strange circumstances.
Oh.
He was supposed to meet a friend to look at a car, but never showed up. And what makes his disappearance so peculiar are the items found in his abandoned car.
Like what?
A stuffed animal, lipstick drawings on the window, several bottles, just odd stuff.
It's really strange. It's like trying to decipher a secret code or something.
And despite a suspect being investigated, no conclusive evidence was found, leaving Zeb's fate shrouded in mystery.
So another dead end.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's frustrating, isn't it? All these cases with so much mystery and no real answers.
Our final case for this part is one that has haunted many with its chilling imagery. Tara Calico vanished in 1988 while on a bike ride in New Mexico.
I think I've heard of this one. Wasn't there a photo involved?
Yeah, a Polaroid photo surfaced a year later showing a young girl resembling Tara bound and gagged alongside a young boy also bound.
Oh, gosh, that's just awful.
It is, and it raises so many questions like, was it a genuine image of Tara or a cruel hoax?
I mean, you have to wonder what the motivation would be for something like that.
Right, and despite the photo and several leads over the years, Tara's disappearance remains unsolved.
Another one with no answers? It's heartbreaking.
It really is. And, Tara's case, like so many we've discussed, it highlights the enduring power of mystery.
Yeah, and our need to find answers.
Absolutely. We're wired to seek explanations to make sense of the world around us, but sometimes those answers just elude us and we're left to grapple with the unknown.
It's humbling, isn't it?
But there's one case we haven't explored yet that takes this fascination to a global scale. Yeah, in 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 just disappeared.
Oh, yeah, with 239 passengers and crew on board, right.
Right, and it's a mystery that's really captivated the world, and it leaves us questioning, how something so massive could just vanish.
I know, it really does challenge our assumptions about, tracking and surveillance in this day and age.
Exactly, and it reminds us that there are still vast expanses of our world that we haven't fully explored or understood.
Absolutely, and the lack of a definitive explanation, it's just fueled so many theories.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at some point to, equipment malfunction or pilot error, but then you've got others that delve into, like, hijacking and government conspiracies, and it's fascinating.
Well, it's a case that has, it's gripped the public imagination, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, you've got armchair detectives, you've got experts, everybody's trying to piece together the puzzle, but it's like, We only have a few pieces.
And the scale of the mystery is truly global, isn't it?
It is, with multiple countries involved in the search efforts.
Which span vast areas of the Indian Ocean.
And despite years of searching and analysis, only a few fragments of the plane have ever been found.
It's a tragedy that really underscores, the fragility of life and the enduring power of mystery, I think.
Absolutely. And for the families of those on board, they've been left in this state of perpetual limbo.
Yeah.
With no closure.
Right.
And this constant barrage of speculation and theories.
Yeah.
It's got to be so difficult.
So we've journeyed through all these chilling disappearances, from the mountains of New Hampshire to the depths of the ocean. I mean, what stands out to you from all the stories?
What strikes me is the sheer diversity of these cases. We've got individuals from all walks of life. They vanish under such a range of circumstances. But yet each story shares this common thread of just this abrupt and unexplained absence of a person from their known world.
It's a reminder that regardless of, our age, background, location, we are all susceptible to the unpredictable nature of life.
Yeah, and it's a thought that both terrifies and fascinates us, doesn't it? This sense of vulnerability, the possibility that anyone could just disappear without a trace.
It makes you wonder what these stories really tell us about ourselves and about society.
Well, they highlight our innate curiosity, right? And our desire for resolution. I mean, we're wired to seek patterns, to make sense of the chaos.
We like to have things make sense.
Exactly. So when we're faced with the unexplained, our minds, they try to fill in the blanks.
Right, it leads to all the speculation.
All the theories, sometimes even, conspiracy theories.
Well, yeah, like with the Manuel Orlandi and the Vatican City connection.
Exactly. I mean, it's almost impossible to not let your imagination run wild when there's so much we don't know.
And we can't forget about the media and the role they play.
Oh, right. I mean, they have a huge influence on how we perceive these cases.
They really do. Some disappearances, like Madeleine McCann's, they receive massive coverage, while others kind of just fade into obscurity.
Yeah, and there are a lot of factors that contribute to that, like the victim's age, background, the circumstances of the disappearance.
And, there's this troubling phenomenon that people refer to as missing white woman syndrome.
Oh, right, where cases involving young, attractive white women tend to get way more attention.
Exactly.
And it raises these uncomfortable questions about, whose stories are considered more important.
Right, whose stories are deemed worthy of our attention, and how those media narratives can actually impact investigations and public perception.
It's a good point.
And then, there's this whole other element that we haven't even talked about, and that's the rise of online sleuths and amateur investigators.
Oh, yeah, the internet detective.
Exactly. They're using the internet to try and solve these cases.
And their efforts, they can be helpful sometimes.
Yeah.
But they can also be problematic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some online sleuths have uncovered valuable leads
Right.
or brought attention to cold cases.
But on the flip side, you've got others who have spread misinformation,
Right.
harassed potential suspects, or even interfered with official investigations.
So we've explored the cases, the theories, the impact on families and investigators, but I think there's a bigger question here, and that's, why are we so drawn to these unsolved mysteries? What is it about the unknown that just captivates us?
I think it's a combination of factors. I mean, we're naturally curious beings. We love puzzles, we love mysteries, and there's also this element of empathy. We connect with the families who are left searching for answers,
Right.
grappling with that pain of ambiguous loss.
And their stories remind us of our own vulnerability and the
Yeah.
fragility of life.
It's like these cases hold a mirror up to our own anxieties and fears, reminding us that despite our best efforts to control our world, there are things that can happen
Yeah.
that we can't
We
explain.
don't have answers for.
Yeah, and maybe that's what makes them so compelling, They force us to confront the limits of our knowledge and the enduring power of the unknown.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into these unsolved disappearances, what do you think is the most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's the importance of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
Being aware of our surroundings, but also being aware of the experiences of others, by being mindful of our safety, taking precautions, and supporting those who are living with the pain of ambiguous loss. I think that's how we can, honor the memory of those who have vanished.
That's a great point.
And hopefully work towards a future where these kinds of disappearances are less likely to occur.
So as we conclude our exploration of the unknown, let's remember that these aren't just stories.
They're not.
They represent real lives, real families, real mysteries that continue to haunt us.
And let's carry with us the lessons we've learned, the importance of awareness, empathy, and holding on to hope. I think those are really important.
I agree. And let's continue to seek answers, advocate for prevention, and support those who are still searching for their loved ones.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And perhaps most importantly, let's never stop questioning, exploring, and seeking to understand the world around us, even when faced with the unknown.
Because it's in that pursuit that we truly connect with the human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it for this deep dive into unsolved disappearances. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.